If Jed plans to cite the Bible as a primary source as evidence for his arguments, he further has the burden of proof that the Bible can be trusted as credible and accurate, and that it has survived to us unaltered and intact. I do consider the Bible to be one of the most important books in the history of the West, as Jed was saying, probably the world. It is full of beautiful poetry and amazing stories of human hardship and perseverance. And I want to say I do believe it's something we should all read and take the time to read in the original Hebrew and Koine Greek, if possible. But there are many so-called holy books for various religions, and they make contradictory claims about history and the state of the universe. Although they all probably contain some historically accurate details, in exactly the same way that Christians rationalize and then dismiss the supernatural elements of all the other so-called holy books, I dismiss those in the Bible too. As Jed defends theism, keep in mind that it's a long way from belief in an inexplicable, impersonal something up there to full-blown Christianity, including a personal male God named Yahweh who created us in his image, who not only created the universe, but the Yeshua HaNotzri, or Jesus, was also the same guy incarnate, that all the other claims of Christianity are demonstrably real: heaven, hell, sin, the resultant need for a Savior, and so on. These claims are all extremely improbable, and to quote Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I'm an atheist because I find that evidence lacking, because faith without evidence is not rational, and because I care about what's true, about being honest in what I do and do not know. How much time do I have? Sorry.
He's sticking his fingers
Okay,
up there.
thank you. Okay, so Jed touched on a couple of things here I just want to address in my last couple minutes. He mentioned no moral standard, which this is something that interests me academically quite a bit. If you spend any time at all studying secular ethics, you know that just because you don't believe in God certainly does not mean you have no moral standard. A lot of atheists have higher moral standards than theists as far as killing people in the name of their religion and so on. I find that just a fallacious approach. He also mentioned if the Bible is true, I'm headed for hell, and I mean that's a statement that makes sense, but it's a conditional statement, and you have to show that the first part is so before the second part follows from that. And if he's going to use that as an argument, I think that he needs to show that the Bible is true if we're going to continue with that line. He touched on this idea that design requires a designer. That is ridiculous. I'm not trying to be cruel there, but if you study natural selection at all, it's extremely clear. We are very clear on how these things happen. Half an eye is 1% better than 49% of an eye. If you can see with, I mean, say you need glasses and you can see just a little bit, it's better than nothing at all. And one photosensitive patch of skin, you know, on an amoeba helps it figure out where it's going more easily and helps it survive better. Over time, this turns into an eye, and we have very good evidence for that. As far as this God is a necessary truth thing, I just don't think that holds water. Same thing as far as this, there has got to be a God on account of his high school classmate becoming a minister. That's statistically probable. If you meet enough people, some of them are going to become ministers. I don't think that that's anything to be concerned about. And he also said if everybody lived according to the 10 Commandments, we would live in an ideal world. And I just don't see that as so, because we wouldn't have the Sistine Chapel if we had the graven images thing in the second commandment. And that's all the time I have for right now. Over to you, Jed.
In my preaching on campus, I seem to draw atheists to me like a magnet. And I want to say this for Dave. Dave is the most gentlemanly atheist I have met. And I appreciate it when we are having our dialogue. It's a debate out there in the circle. I've never heard Dave use a swear word or cuss word or get ugly, you're an a-hole, or that's a bunch of shit. He's eloquent and educated and Mensa. He must have a high IQ to be in Mensa. He must be way up there, above me, I'm sure, that IQ if he's able to get in Mensa. And we should question. God's not looking for blind faith. At one point in the book of Jeremiah, God speaks to the prophet and says, "What is your case against me? Bring your case against me." He doesn't mind an honest question. I'll often challenge the students. I'll say, can you come up with a more reasonable belief system, a higher ethical code than the one taught in the Bible? If you can convince me you've got a more reasonable belief system and a higher ethical code than the one taught in the Bible, then I'll renounce Christianity and follow your belief system. Now, Dave did appeal to morals. What is moral? What is immoral? In his tract, it's okay to be an atheist. He quotes Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens, who says it's a sin, or evil, I believe he says, to tell children about God. And so I would like Dave, when he has his next opportunity, to explain to me what is his moral standard. And how is it better than the one taught in the Bible, as in the Ten Commandments, as in the Golden Rule? If man would no longer murder, steal, cheat, commit adultery, we would have a much more peaceful, free, and loving society. Faith, we need to understand the nature of faith. Faith is not believing the unbelievable. It's believing the believable. Faith is submitting your will to truth. What is truth? Well, truth is that which conforms to reality. Jesus claimed to be truth personified. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. And no man comes unto the Father but through me." Unfortunately, I fear a lot of people have faith confused with credulity. I'm afraid many Christians have faith confused with credulity. Credulity is believing something independent of evidence, independent of knowledge. I find most people have not even examined the claims for Christianity. I don't know what the claims of Christianity are, much less whether Christianity is true or not. And of course, we learn the claims of Christianity by studying the Bible. Daily, I'm confronted with people who say to me, "Well, Brother Jed, prove to me the Bible is true." And I'll ask, "Well, how much of the Bible have you read?" And typically, it'll be very little. Here and there. They don't know what Christianity basically teaches. So let's find out what Christianity teaches, then put it to the test of reason. Put it to the test of what you intuitively know. Put it to the test of what you've experienced in life. Put it to the test of certain truths that you intuitively know, or certain self-evident truths. And I believe you'll find that Christianity will pass this test. Faith is believing the believable. If I might illustrate the difference between faith and credulity. You have an office building on fire. It's a 50-story office building. And someone works their way up to the roof of the building. And they're crying out, "Help me, lest I perish in these flames." And there are people on the street below, and of course they're compassionate and concerned people, so they go to the foot of the building, they lock arms and shout, "Well, if you'll jump, we'll catch you." And the person looks down. Well, they do seem sincere. And so the person jumps, and everybody is sincere, but this is sheer weight of the gravity. They fall right. The person falls right to the arms of the people to their death on the concrete.